Okay, I want you to think about that one task you've been putting off. You know the one. You know you have to do it, but when you think about it, there's just nothing inside. No drive, no desire, nothing. Well, I'm here to tell you something important. You are not the problem.
Just let that sink in for a second. Seriously, if we had to wait until we felt like doing something, our entire society would just grind to a halt, right? Nobody would ever get up for that early alarm. No one would walk into a tough meeting. And forget about going for a run in the rain. But we do these things every single day. And it's definitely not because we always want to.
So here's the key takeaway right up front. You are not broken. You're not lazy. You've just been playing the game with the wrong rulebook. You fundamentally misunderstood how your brain is actually wired to get things done.
And that leads us to our first big idea. We need to completely tear down what I call the motivation myth.
We've all heard it a million times, right? That motivation is the spark. It's this magical feeling you have to find before you can start your engine. But the truth? It's the complete opposite. Motivation isn't the cause of action, it's the result. Think of it like exhaust. It's the byproduct that only shows up after the engine is already running. Action has to come first.
So, if we're not supposed to be waiting for some magic feeling, what is actually going on up there when we decide to scroll on our phones instead of doing the work? Well, it all comes down to a secret, lightning-fast calculation that your brain is running all the time.
Every single time you even look at your to-do list, your brain, in less than a second, runs this subconscious cost-benefit analysis. It's basically trying to get an answer to three very, very specific questions.
First, it asks, how much energy is this going to take? Then, how long until I get the good stuff, the reward for doing this? And finally, what are the chances I'm going to fail at this and feel bad? Now, if the answers are a lot of energy, a reward that's way off in the future, and a high risk of failure, your brain just slams on the brakes. This isn't a character flaw. This is biology.
And this brings us to dopamine. Now, we've all heard it called the pleasure hormone, but that's not quite right. It's much more accurate to think of it as the currency of anticipation. Your brain releases it when it predicts a reward is on its way, and that little hit of dopamine is what actually drives you to go get it. And this, right here, is the central battle of modern life. Think about it. Short-term tasks, like checking social media, take almost zero effort for an instant guaranteed reward. So dopamine anticipation is through the roof. But those big, important long-term goals, they take a ton of effort for a reward that's maybe weeks or months away. Dopamine anticipation is super low, your brain is an energy-saving machine, so of course it's going to choose the path of least resistance almost every time.
So how in the world do we fight back? How do we outsmart our own ancient brain wiring? Well, the answer is actually deceptively simple. You have to start small, ridiculously small.
So rule number one is this. You have to completely destroy the illusion of scale. Your brain doesn't just see the task. No, it sees the entire mountain of effort that comes with it, and it panics. It recoils from that feeling.
So from now on, your goal is no longer to write a chapter. It's to write one single sentence. You're not going to go for a run. No, you are just going to put on your running shoes. See the difference? The goal isn't to finish the task. The goal is to make the act of starting so absurdly easy that your brain can't even argue with it. And here's why this little trick works so well. Your brain isn't actually resisting the action itself. It's resisting the perceived effort. Anyone can write one sentence, anyone can take one dish to the sink. By lowering that cost of entry to practically zero, you just sneak right past your brain's security system.
But sometimes the barrier isn't just how big the task is. It's something deeper. It's that voice in our heads. So we have to talk about how to defeat your inner critic.
Wow. Read that again. This totally reframes perfectionism, doesn't it? We love to tell ourselves it's about our high standards, but so often it's really just a clever defense mechanism to avoid the feeling of shame. Because hey, as long as you never start, you can never fail, right? Procrastination becomes a shield.
And that leads to rule number 2. And this one is a game changer. Give yourself permission to do it badly, seriously. Write a terrible first draft. Do a clumsy, awkward workout. Just get something, anything on the page. The second you lower the stakes from this has to be perfect to just this has to be done, the fear evaporates and the resistance just melts away.
Okay, so we've worked on our internal state. But what about the world around us? It turns out our environment has a massive, massive impact on our actions. It's time to stop trying to have more willpower and start designing for discipline.
Look, real discipline isn't about being a superhero with endless willpower. It's about being a smart architect of your own environment. If your phone is sitting right next to you, you're literally forcing yourself to fight a new battle every few minutes. The secret is simple. Make the things you want to do easy to access and make your distractions hard to get to. That's it. That's the whole game.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. All these tricks and environmental hacks are great, but for long-term, sustained effort, you've got to check in on the real fuel source for action.
You know, sometimes a lack of motivation is just a signal from your body. Are you completely burnt out from no sleep and too much stress? But beyond that, you have to ask the tough questions. Does this task actually mean anything to me? Is this my goal, or is it a goal someone else handed to me? Your brain is not going to waste energy on a destination it has zero interest in reaching.
And this is where it all comes together. Every tiny action you take, every time you just put on your running shoes, it's like a vote for a new identity. With each tiny step, you stop being the person who's always planning to or about to. You become the person who starts. And believe me, that changes everything.
And you can see how this creates this amazing positive feedback loop. It all starts with one tiny, almost effortless action. That little action creates a tiny bit of momentum. That feeling of progress, that's what generates a spark of real earned motivation. And that motivation is what fuels the next, maybe slightly bigger action. This is how you build discipline, not overnight, but one small turn of the flywheel at a time.
So, here it is, your final takeaway and your first step. Stop thinking. Pick one thing. Set a timer on your phone for just 3 minutes and do the smallest, most laughably easy version of that task you can think of. Do it right now. Don't do it to finish it, do it just to start. Because I promise you, once you are in motion, motivation will come and find you.